Okay, before we get started, I am going to do a sound test. This is going to be WWOW Talk. I want to go into the streams, see if I can hear my voice, which I usually do before the stream, make sure everything's up and running. And you said you can hear me, right, Mark?
Yeah, completely clear.
Okay, so it's going good on Kick. Rumble again doesn't hasn't kicked in yet. There we go. Sounds good on Rumble. Twitch, I believe I'm streaming on. Yes, I'm streaming on Twitch as well. For anybody who wants to check us out on Twitch, we are on there. But the recording does not get saved on Twitch for anybody if they're actually listening this close into the stream. So, and I am not doing DLive any at all either. Just so you know, Mark. And
Yeah, I suspected you wouldn't.
I'm
Expected you completely given up on that one.
yeah, it's done and over. We don't need to waste our time on that nonsense. I'm sorry, but it's just it sounds good on there. But since they did all those restrictions where you can only stream for like a certain amount of time, I think it's 3 hours. Their whole platform is basically going to crap. You know what I mean? So it's like every time I try to go on and live stream on there, I can barely ever. I can sometimes get the stream to work, but then
I don't know, if you're creating serious content, why do you need any more than 3 hours?
well, that's true. You know,
Yeah.
and I am a sex object, so it's like
Yeah, okay. I was talking about serious content.
I was.
If you want to do that, go to create an OnlyFans page.
I tried to. They won't let me. They say my beard is in the way, so I've talked about that. So now I'm going to chance this. I'm going to go ahead and just use Rumble Studios because, and I know I probably shouldn't do that because we've even had that issue before where I didn't record it and everything. But and to be honest, I probably should record it. Now, before I start the stream, I do want, or before I start getting into the topic, I would do want to go through some of the WoW Talk business behind the scenes and stuff because we've had a couple of things happen. Okay, and then we'll get into the whole topic. Sound good?
Fine, carry on.
Okay. Now with me, I went ahead and I popped YouTube up, or OBS, I should say, and I can run a.
I'm about to switch devices. Sorry, guys.
Hey,
Fine.
it's fine. We're still just getting everything in line, you know. So, and yeah. I'm going to go ahead and record it on the OBS as well as using Rumble Studios as well, just in case, you know what I mean. So whenever we're ready, I'll do a countdown. We're already live streaming through Rumble Studios, but I'm going to do the countdown so that we can have a recording and I can edit it out and put it out later on because it needs to go out in February on the Wonderful World of Weirdness. So, and like I was telling Mark Angel or B, I don't know why I called you Angel, but
It's just that he seems to have just disappeared.
he came in and bounced out.
Yeah.
He said he had to take his meds, so
Yeah.
yeah, he said he'll be back probably. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I was going to tell him I'll do the business stuff so we can have that.
Mm.
It's been a long time since I've used freaking Rumble Studio like this. I've used it with OBS, but I've never gone directly into the studio, and done it this way. It's pretty cool. So this is a good way too for me to go ahead and save this background. That way I can put it in my edits because this was good stuff back before. You know what I mean? I had this all hooked up with old footage from the Wonderful World of Weirdness before I took over and mangled it and made it all horrible for those old Wonderful World of Weirdness fans who constantly come into a comment section and criticize me for the horrible thing I've done. How dare you get rid of those ghost pictures?
What's wrong with that image? You mean the microphone?
Yeah, that's good though. I mean, I did that one on my own, and I added the pictures that used to be on the Wonderful World of Weirdness in the back. I can make more of them later on, but I figured I'd do those. Those had to come out of the off the channel for YouTube because apparently they have an issue with using content that it's not really a copyright. It's just a freaking Creative Commons situation, apparently.
You're gonna have to elaborate a bit on.
Well, the pictures don't have, or the videos that were on there didn't have somebody talking while they're doing it. Now, if they were actually had somebody commentating or a commentary on it, then they could have stayed on there. But then, even with that, there was some of them that did have copyright infringement. And every
So
time
you copyrighted images in it's not Creative Commons. Then you're
Vid-
talking about the
I had some of them and I deleted them, is what I said, and got rid of them.
you're talking about the education news commentary sort of clauses in the US 1976 Copyright Act.
No, I mean this right here had absolutely nothing to do with the copyrights. It was actually the fact that nobody was like talking during the video. Like it got absolutely no copyrights whatsoever from the ones they were talking about.
Yeah, but where's the visual content coming from?
That's what I'm saying. That was before I got on here. The Wonderful World of Weirdness used to be ran by John Clark, and I keep forgetting his name, but oh my god. But and another guy. I'm sorry if anybody's an old fan watching this stream. I apologize for forgetting his name. But Julian.
Yeah.
Something happened there where they were putting content on that had copyright issues that I had gotten off of there. But then they started saying it was Creative Commons too, where the videos couldn't be used because nobody was having a conversation during the videos. You know what I'm saying? Explaining what was on there, and I'm like, what? So I ended
So
up.
the videos themselves were copyrighted.
I mean, if they were copyrighted, then I wouldn't. I
Uh,
would. I mean, they would have just
um,
freaking told me that it was copywritten. I would have gotten a warning.
I mean, I do not like YouTube's description of Creative Commons. I think back in 2019, I wrote a blog article that is it on my actual front on my Minds Account front page. Yeah, open source Creative Commons and license agreement, which explains the different tiers of Creative Commons. There's something like what 5 different tiers,
Yeah.
and YouTube's Creative Commons license is not in line with those different tiers. They do not make any nuance. So
Yeah, I know. And then a lot of these content creators on YouTube are eating that up. Like they're putting out false statements saying that freaking people are being brought up on charges in freaking court and stuff like that because of content creators or because of um, content being freaking flagged as content and everything. And, you know,
well, the entire you've got these questionable companies that will just flag anything.
yeah. I mean,
And remember, it doesn't matter if it goes to. It doesn't matter if you're charged with something. The conviction is the actual problem. Is the actual issue.
well, the crazy part about all that is it's like it's the content creators that are being like uh, supposedly forced into court over uh, um, copyright laws, supposedly. Okay, and you see these ads all the time up there where freaking these people who owns the copyrights are freaking taking them to court, and they're even starting to put out misinformation saying that freaking they're being charged with some type of crime when copyright laws is actually a civil law
Yeah.
issue. It's not a criminal.
And a lot of this, as far as I can see, it's not actually content creators, it's these sort of the third party legal quote unquote firms.
Yeah.
Questionable. Yeah.
Now, Down Bad Production says, "Brother, the sky is pink in England right now."
Black. It's like I said, it's it's half past, it's 22:01.
Mhm. He said
Yeah.
something about copyright these nuts. There's no telling where that comes from. There's probably a good chance that dude is coming off of freaking Kick. Okay, I just fucking, you can't allow them guys in anywhere. You know what I mean? Fucking Kick. I'm dead serious. I guarantee you, if I go over to Kick, that's where I'm going to find that comment, dude.
Actually, the both the UK and US Copyright Act, which were created both at the same time, 1976, is if you read either piece of legislation, it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
written in such a way that's fairly easy to understand, and it's not overly complicated.
mhm. The thing of believe it or not, he is on Twitch. You should be ashamed of yourself. Down Productions. You are on Twitch. You represent the glory of freaking live streaming, dude. You should be ashamed of yourself. But I'm gonna let that stay in chat. Usually I have to freaking block people on there because of freaking like trying to. They're usually bots, spammers. You know what I mean? So you actually said something that was real. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
leave you
yeah.
on.
Actually, it amused me the other day. I was just looking through Dragus Productions Mumble content, mainly the fixing votes content, and the only comment I saw on there was the sort of we love your content, but we think we can help you to market it better.
Oh yeah, they do that to
Um,
me all the
yeah.
time. And then like he has like these guys that just stop in with their bots, I guess, and whenever he's live streaming, they're saying, "We support you, we're here for you," but they never get engaged in the chats. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I know it's just a freaking bogus bot somebody's just
And
using.
then notice none of them are professional. They all use poor language, and they always use things like Gmail email accounts and WhatsApp numbers. There is not a company name anywhere referenced in the comments.
Well, I'm having this idea that Angel or V is not coming back in. So what I'm going to do is,
He's
I'm
there, but
I'm right here.
sure.
okay, man. I've been sitting here waiting for you. I haven't even noticed that you.
Well, so I have an issue. So,
Well, hold on. Let me hit the record so that we can actually get it officially started. Okay, because this does need to be in.
well, I'm just saying I have some technical issues. That's.
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
I want it on record because this is WoW Talk, and we kind of get into that kind of conversation too. Okay,
Okay.
so hold on. Let me do my countdown. I'll do an introduction, and we'll get into that. So, 3, 2, 1. Now, hello everybody, and welcome back to the first episode of WoW Talk for 2026. I wish I could say it was the first ever WoW Talk, but after quite a lot of them, I'm not able to say that. But it is the first episode of 2026, and today I have with me Mark Edworthy and V, lovingly known as V. Welcome to WoW Talk, guys. Now, we were doing in a live stream, we were having a conversation about the business end of what's going on with not only WoW Talk, but with uh, YouTube and all these platforms. And don't pay attention to Down Bad Productions in the chat that's being showed on the view on the stream. He's just a ruffian from Twitch. But I'm gonna leave it up there because freaking we don't get too many real chatters on Twitch, so it's kind of like a flagship for us. Somebody actually responded. Now, with that being said, V was talking about having some issues that he was wanting to discuss. So I'm gonna shut up now and let you talk, V.
No, it's just I have different devices for different things. Everything has its own purpose, especially as most of my machines are offline. I've had my issues, my war with the feds, with the NSA, which they have lost. But yeah, I've had to do certain practices, certain things, compartmentalizing my equipment just so these criminals, state-funded terrorists, creeps aren't looking at my stuff. So, yeah, I have my business phone, which I pretty much use for everything because it's small, it's sleek, it's an iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
and Yeah, I do my business calls. I do recordings, things of that nature. However, I never have it charged. When you guys want to do anywhere from 3 to 8 hour streams, my phone is just never. So, my iPhone, and you know how much a holes Apple is. They only put a port. Now, I'm not talking about the old phones. I'm talking about the newer phones. There's a port, the lightning cable, which charges the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's also for the headphones. You have to have two separate adapters. So I have bought several adapters that combine the two to be able to use headphones with the charging, and they simply don't work. So yeah, so I have my Android phone, which I just use for YouTube. I mount it up and I listen to my podcast wherever I am, and I do my chores. I clean house, or I'm working, or whatever. So I have my Android phone for that. So I was gonna just say screw it and just put it on my Android phone. But every APK that I find to put Rumble onto my Android phone turns out to be an X APK. I'm being steered away from all APK downloads for some reason. So
the thing I am quite annoyed about, I can see it from a end user perspective, but the thing that I find annoying is when these providers will create a mobile application that does exactly the same as and doesn't give you any additionals as the web browser interface is concerned. So, in some unless you are really looking for things like permanent notifications, you may be better off just using the browser interface.
Yeah. And see, I've actually incorporated like OBS into using Kick as well, because like I there's some there's some times where OBS is better than using Rumble Studios. You know what I mean? And I've heard people having issues with wanting to come in and use Rumble Studios because freaking they have a standalone like Mark Watosic does. You know what I mean? And this is a web browser set up, and it complicates him because he's into radio broadcasting too, and he has to work with a standalone. Apparently, I don't understand how that works, but he is really big on the radio side of things, so I can understand that. But like I said to even Jaffe, I'm like, look, man, you can freaking use your OBS the same way you use it on all of these other platforms. Just use your OBS instead of going in and using the studio.
I think as far as Mark's concerned, it's just a matter of his own workflow, his own sort of habits, really.
Yeah, that's another thing, that because I'm the same way. I'm dead set in my ways. You know what I mean?
And as somebody who's come from a end user sort of support, and especially educational support, I've seen this so many times. People will, if they've got a specific workflow, a work pattern that they like to follow, they will only use that work pattern and will not consider, or will not do any research on how to change that.
And see, that's kind of what I was talking about on Auto Show, his first show, which I want to get onto here in a little bit. But like people, it's the way they think. You know what I mean? Our brain patterns work in loops. We play things over and over again in loops, and Like when you first wake up in the morning, you don't think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something different today. You know what I mean? It's always, you've got a routine, a morning routine that leads you into your day. Everybody does it. And that's a biological thing, but there's also a point in the day where you can actually say do something different. You don't have to keep everything a routine, you know. You can change things up, make things a little bit more complex, or give yourself some complexity. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Make
Well,
life a little bit.
I'm definitely trying to adapt and spread to other things, but I run into the most stupidest problems.
Yeah,
I cannot find, because I don't use Google Play Store. I don't sign in. I don't give them, I don't let them track me. So I usually use a site like APK Pure or SoftSonic or any place to go get my APKs. It seems like my search has been altered in such a way only X APKs can come up.
yeah.
So if either one of you guys have this Rumble Studios on your phones, please make a backup of them, the app in itself, and send me that backup. Send me a copy of your APK so I can install it to my damn phone.
I
Okay.
would not recommend that because of potential security issues. Who knows that is a clean deployment?
No, I mean if there's nothing wrong with your phones, you can use an app to copy the APK,
Mhm.
and then that file you can just drop it into the
Well, I mean,
whatever chat.
Yeah, but you're opening yourself up to sort of security
I'm
concerns.
opening myself up to that just downloading from anywhere.
exactly.
True,
And
true, true.
with that being said, I want to kind of get to the business end of this before we get into the topic, so that we can uh, move on to this topic, because this is actually a pretty damn good topic. Now, first of all, I want to let everybody know that in the comment section that I put down below, I'm going to start just posting links for the Patreon channel that I've set up for all the stuff that I've streamed. Now, membership on that Patreon channel is free. You don't have to pay to join. Okay. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm wanting to kind of centralize all the stuff that we're doing, and plus, um, we're actually getting into some pretty good content that I do want people to be aware of and be able to go to and be a part of the community, and not be kind of bound to the things that are going on with YouTube or Facebook or all that. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, I wanted to mention that, and there's a part of this that I wanted to actually talk to Mark about, because I noticed whenever I went in there and we were talking about wanting to do some kind of website. Well, I found out by going in and getting back into my Patreon that they offer just a free freaking website for being on there with an account. And you can have people who are your partners and affiliates. You know what I mean? People who you work together with on there. And my whole thing is rather than going and getting a website built and everything, why not just work together off of the website that's provided to you by Patreon?
Well, there are two projects I've been meaning to do, and I want to work on them this year. I've got a project called which I'm calling Open Source Zone, which is really, all those open source educational blog articles I wrote back in 2018, 2019. I want to actually do some edits on them and clean up some. I'm not absolutely happy with some of the wording on them, and then amalgamate them into a website of their own. And also, I've got the domain name midwifery.co.uk. The public end of that contains nothing really at this present moment, and I want to use that as a bit of a marketing sort of exercise.
Well, I mean, if you want to, man, I can I can literally set it up to where you can go in there and make changes, work on things, stuff like that. You can even put your own stuff on there.
I would be using things like Joomla, the open source content management system. So it would be it's modular, and it's I can create administration sort of levels and tiers and stuff.
I'm just saying we could do it on a free Patreon.
Well, I've already got the infrastructure there. That's what I'm just saying.
I mean, for me personally, I'm not getting caught up in the whole open source thing because, like, I like quality. I don't like freaking.
Yeah. The open source. Well, yeah, I'm talking just about my blog articles, which is a separate project from the midwifery.co.
But what I'm saying is, after you're done there, you can actually put that stuff on there, man. Make it to where people can have it available on there. I mean, I'd be more than happy to have you freaking just make articles and just put them up on Patreon with me. You know what I mean? Where people are informed and stuff like that. You know, and they do your stuff on the side, and then when they're polished off and ready to go, put them up on the Patreon so that people can go in and check it out and they can be informed by Mark Edworthy. I'll call you the mighty professor.
I've been thinking about integrating the TikTok videos into the midwifery domain.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I just wanted to throw that out there to you, you know, and see if you wanted to do something.
I'm just thinking at the moment because there's so many videos. What there's 30 plus videos.
Wow. Well, I thought we were going to call him. You want to call him Professor? I'd say we call him Sir Edward.
Yes.
Sir Ed Worthington.
Edworthy.
The Edworthy.
Mr. Edworthy. I love that because you remember what do they call that movie? It was The Gentleman. Remember what's his name? The dude that freaking had the gun, dude, and he could shoot really, really far, dude.
Yeah.
Go League of Gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go.
The League of Gentlemen.
I've actually seen that. I've never actually seen that.
It's a good.
I've seen clips, but I've never actually watched it. Yeah.
So I mean,
something for me.
You know, with a name
on my to-do list.
With a name like that, you know, nobody will stop me from doing anything. Like, sir, you can't pull the injured person out of the right car. Yes, I can. Why? Because I'm Edworthy.
I would.
Are you Edworthy? No, you're not Edworthy. I'm Edworthy.
I wouldn't do it.
Get out of the way.
I would.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. That would be a job for my chauffeur.
Oh wow! Did he really go there?
Well, this situation is not Edworthy of Edworthy. Okay.
he just freaking pulled it out like a bad situation. The mighty Edward.
Yeah, talk to my staff about that one.
Talk to your PR person.
Yeah. Okay, so now that that's taken care of, and I didn't put that on the list of stuff, but I did want to mention that. Now, besides that, I do want to let everybody know that we're going to also be working through Locals, and that's also a free membership. And the reason for that is I want to network with all of you guys. So, like I don't know if you're on my Locals or not, but
I've never even heard of it until you brought it up some time ago.
Now, what that's all about is I just want to use that for networking. Don't worry about uploading stuff or anything like that, but like having communications with one another and stuff like that, because I'm so sick of using Teams. Okay. I'm literally just sick of it. So, like, if anybody wants to collaborate with me or work with me, man, get on there. It's free and everything. It's just, they do have like storage limitations for people. So if you go on there, don't use it for like, I suggest not to use it for like trying to make your live streams and stuff like that. It's not really all that great. But like for what I'm talking about, it's perfect where you just have a small group of people that you collaborate with, you know, get on there, post ideas, make posts of articles, things like that. You know what I mean? It'd be a good place for that. I've got that on there, and I have been in the past making uh, posts on minds.com, but I've decided this year that I'm going to start going with paywall. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm wanting to set something up that is supporting the content creators for minds.com. I know this is the wonderful world of weirdness, but I wanted to say this so that I can talk concerning what I'm doing on minds.com and the reason why I set those paywalls up. Um, there's a lot of good content creators that are on there that uh, have been doing a lot of good stuff on there, but they haven't had the ability to get their content out. And I wanted to set something up because of what You Better had mentioned earlier this year about getting something started with content creators.
Well, you know what? I was going to talk to you about this because I'm. I was told that I am going to be, or that I could start this whenever I wanted, because TLB Media Beacon project, we had TLB TV, right?
Mhm.
And we had, like anywhere from 30 to 50 different hosts putting up shows every day, all day. So that has been defunct for quite some time. However, I was told if I wanted to start back up again, I would be the director, and I can pull in as many people onto the project as I wanted to. So this might be something to revamp TLB TV again.
Oh yeah, well, Otto, this one thing. Do you want to do some audio? Get some weird feedback from me.
It's always on. Hello, welcome to the stream.
How about now?
No, it's still there.
No, it's
Huh.
it's got a weird robotic, Mr. Robotic, Mr. Robot.
I'm a robot. I really am. Can tell me all the secrets I told you yesterday.
Your voice sounds great. It's got like a little chipper back sound.
I don't know. I'm sitting in my car. I just got back from band practice. Bit of freezing rain on the way down, but once I got to lower altitudes, it wasn't too bad. I'm up in the foothills of the Adirondack Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in band camp stays in band camp. Okay.
Well, you know what happens in band camp. I've watched some movies.
I record some of our conversations and stuff, and some of them are very interesting. You get some really wild stories. I want to get some of those guys on here one of these days. There's this guy, Chad. You've got to meet Chad. You guys have got a lot.
Okay, so it's cool that you showed up.
Chads are awesome. I like Chads.
It's cool that you showed up because what I want to do is I want to introduce you to the channel for everybody. This is WWOW Talk, and I wanted everybody to know that Otto has recently started his own show here on the wonderful world of weirdness, and I'd like to welcome you officially in the stream to the channel. If you didn't show up, which I know that could have been possible, I was going to announce it anyhow. So I'd like to introduce you to the channel and kind of give you a chance to go over your show and let everybody know what it's about.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here. We're still getting our feet under us with the show, Automatic Pilot. And I want it to be about Buddhism, but although there wasn't too much Buddhism in it last time, I'm hoping to make it a more focused show. Like next time, Raj, I want us to have like a specific topic, and either talk specifically about the topic and or have a guest on that wants to talk about it. And the topic I'd like to talk about either next time or the time before is something I like to call skillful samsara. And because samsara, of course, is the wandering around aimlessly. I mean, life has no direction, really. The only direction is out. And so we spend all our time in samsara. And yet, if we live in the world, we're householders, right? We have to engage with samsara. So we have to do it skillfully. And I was talking about that to my friend Panyabasa, who is much more learned in Buddhism than me, and he thought the idea was good. He called it Dharmic Neo-Stoicism. So we might be touching on a little bit of Stoicism, which is making a comeback, I think, these days. So, but yeah, I hope for it to be a hard-hitting, focused, Buddhist-flavored show that is not afraid to wrestle with the current events and spiritual malaise that's confronting people today. And maybe we can give people some hints on how to make their own lives a little better.
Excellent. And while we're all here, I would personally like to apologize for Mark Edworthy and his bad behavior that night. He was completely out of character, and he usually doesn't act like that.
Sorry, you confused me.
Well, only he can do it because he's Edworthy.
That's
I
right.
didn't think anything.
Specific.
Well, Mark, you're being blatantly calm, collected.
He, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand. He gets on here. He knows. He just took it.
Well, he's not
speaking on misbehaving people. Otto, you ever do any one-on-one counseling? Because I got someone I cannot handle, and I would love to pass them on over to you.
I am very limited with that. The only person that I ever have taken on for a one-to-one counseling is my friend Roberta. And Bob and I have been like in a one-on-one counseling thing for some years now, and she takes up all my energy. I have no energy for helping anyone else.
Okay, so yeah, we're in the same boat here.
I'm always happy to help, and I'm always happy to, help if I can, but to commit myself to like being someone's permanent, call me anytime kind of deal. That's not in my life right now. I just.
What about an hour a week?
I'm running out of money.
Well, actually, I know someone who will pay you. They'll pay you for that hour if you do an hour a week with them.
Oh, I can do that.
They will pay.
Okay, I thought you were talking about spending like 5 or 6 hours a day talking and wrestling.
No, I wouldn't do that to anybody.
2 hour a day. No,
Yeah.
I actually be very happy to talk to someone if there's somebody that you think I could help. But yeah, I thought you were talking about like just being there 24/7.
No, because I couldn't even do that. I'm not going to ask somebody to do what I can't. But however, I've got as far as I could with the person.
Well, you've got my contact details, right?
Well, I don't know how you would want to be contacted because I don't have your phone number. I do have your profile on Teams.
Just do Teams. Do it too. Yeah.
Teams would work fine. I'll shoot you my number over there too if you want, so you can text me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not a big deal. We'll do it there. I'm not going to do it here on Rumble.
Yeah, like right now in the live stream, especially. That's just like, and just to let everybody know, we do not do that stuff. We're just here to do a show. We're not soliciting any kind of mental help or medical help whatsoever. But It's just two friends talking amongst one another, and that's it. It has nothing to do with the show. So
This is not meant to be medical advice or to replace visiting your doctor.
Buddhism.
Right.
He's into Eastern mysticism, but he has it all wrong.
Yeah.
He throws out terms that he doesn't even know what they mean.
You know what he's into?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know what he's into specifically, or what kind of books he's been reading?
Well, I know he is aware of Gnosticism. He is aware of some Hindu stuff. I can't say exactly what, but he has friends in India that he sends money to. He
Indians love when you send them money. Do not redeem. Do not redeem.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell him. You know, I mean, he used to do his Reiki stuff, and I would tell him, you know, stop spending so much money on this stuff. He'd spend $200, $300 a month for somebody just to pray over the phone and give him Reiki.
Phone for a C note, even. Raj, you can help me, right?
Yeah, I'll be your backup. Just I got my net spin card. I'm good to go.
The Roger search.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to tell him to send you $50-$60 just for your time. You know, an hour a week, something like that.
You ever see that? Oh, I'd be more than happy to help him out. But did you ever see that thing that guy was praying? He said if you sent him your prayer, he would pray in Jerusalem where God can hear you. And he was like, you have these people in the background getting teletypes and they're all like praying and weaving and stuff like that. Well, we're going to do that in Tijuana. So we're going to need money to go down to the most fun place on earth. I think we need to bring the whole team down there, actually. And, you know, there's room for a donkey, but we're not going there. We're not going there.
Hey, I said I didn't go. Listen,
get on it.
I got hitched. I didn't have a bachelor party. I didn't go. No. I was saying that my friends were upset with me for not doing it. Because that's a Texas tradition.
Wow. Yeah, Texas.
Yeah, so I've never been to the donkey show. I've never done it.
Okay, so since we've covered the new show for Auto, and I think we've done a really good job of that, I'm going to go ahead and also fill everybody in. We've done the first episode, like Auto said. I agree with you. I think that it should be more Buddhist focused and everything because, I mean, we had a good conversation and everything. But
it's fun. It was a good show. It was a good show. We want to hone it a little more, focus it better. Yeah. Someone asked me about. I said we're getting our feet under us, you know, and I think it's a very good start.
Especially because, like, you've got a really tight knit group of people that you work with when it comes to Buddhism and talk to on different levels. You know what I mean? And like, I felt really out of place even when I was making my comments. Like I did, because like, you know, I'm not Buddhist for one thing. You know, what
do you mean? Oh, there are non-Buddhists there, and then there's some guy like Poor Thur. If you've seen, I don't know if you've been in there lately, but he was criticizing some guy because he was like some kind of one of those you know, pseudo neo-Buddhist Zen teachers. And like, this guy is possibly demon possessed. He's going to get some hell time. And he's a Mahayana guy. He's a Pure Land Buddhist. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah, you told me about him already. So let's keep the secrets for the episode.
He's like, he says, many people would consider that is, you know, like slandering the Dhamma, blaspheming the Dhamma. And then Bhanavar says, well, you know, there are many Theravada Buddhists who would feel that just the entire Mahayana is just. You would say that. So yeah, no, you know, I would suggest you see any interesting conversation in there, really just ask a question, dive right in, post some stuff, and they really are friendly people, most of them. Yeah. As long as you're not big, you'll do fine.
Well, the second part I was wanting to say is I want to hear from them. I don't want to be the one talking. Like when I say that I just want to sit there and I want to record, it's because I want to listen to you guys. I don't want to be the guy running his mouth. You know what I mean? It's like from the conversations I've had seen so far, they're pretty cool. So
yeah.
You know, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
No, so after that, the one thing I wanted to also bring up was I want to announce the episodes that were coming out from Summer in Austin. They came together and did a live stream that Otto and me were both on, and I think it came out good. Now I've done the live stream on the Wonderful World of Weirdness. Now I'm going to edit those down, and the hour-long ones are going to go on my sister station that's called Strange Stories. If anybody wants to see the hour-long versions, and when I put the edited versions on the Wonderful World of Weirdness, I'm going to keep it the way it's been, where I've been cutting them down to 15-minute sections. And I'm thinking about doing with them the same things that I've been doing with Minds Roundtable this year. I'm going to do the 15-minute videos and then just put them on minds.com for like a demo of the channel. So if people want to go to it and check it out, they can go to the channel and check it out. So
That's a good idea.
I'm going to do that.
Cool.
And she came out with her first live stream of Summer Todd's Creepy Corner last night, and I wanted to mention that. Now, with that being said, I also want to mention that I do have new live streams as well. I have the third thing and Headlines After Midnight, and most of everybody who's on here are the ones who show up for that. And then what I'm going to also do is, I'm glad you're here too still, Otto, is like all of the horrible stuff that V says in Quantum Gathering. They're going on the recorded, edited version of Headlines After Midnight.
So when I talk about things like the money shot not actually being made of money,
right?
Yes,
that wouldn't go on the show.
That's right out.
Yeah, that's not going to go on the show.
You got an AI listening to you. You're on a 2-second delay right now, so the AI can
but
nice words instead.
you will be on the Wonderful World of Weirdness with us, just so you know. You will be on there because I'm putting the third thing on there, and I'm putting Headlines After Midnight on there too. And I've already got a feedback on the third thing, and it's like, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm not going to change that name because she asked me what it was about. She was a little bit confused, and that's progress for me because it is hard getting people to make comments. Okay, so I was actually able to sit in the comment section and have a conversation about what the show was about, and that's the kind of reaction I wanted to get with the name. You know what I mean? Where people are actually curious. Whoa, what is this? Because I don't get reactions like that. So that was a good thing in my opinion. Just wanted to kind of put that out there. I did get feedback from that. You guys still here?
Yep.
Oh yeah. I changed some of my settings. Hopefully I sound a little less robot-y. Test.
Now the new
We'll say
format.
testes, 1, 2, testes.
No, the new format for me.
That's an old.
The new format that I have going for me on the WOW is going to be that I'm going to do my uploads during the week after I edit, but I'm only going to live stream once a week, and that's on Thursdays. And I'll do this one, and I will also do another one on Tuesday for Otto. And
Groovy.
then Summer, she does hers whenever she feels like it. She's a Ohio woman that kind of, you know what I mean. So she's a country girl, an Ohio country girl. That's how they roll.
No, do you know the most underrated woman in America is?
What?
You gotta have a Wisconsin woman.
Oh God,
Wisconsin.
Jansen.
Wisconsin.
Oh,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I thought I thought it was a little town in Texas or something.
Wisconsin. I knew what he was talking about the moment he started saying that because, like, my dad was born in Wisconsin, so
Well,
I
these
know.
women are rugged and they're thick and they can do things that other women can't.
Okay,
I'll just say that much.
okay. So, with that being said, we have come to the spotlight of the night, and I was so impressed with that book that you recommended at last night that I wanted to make that the topic for WoW Talk tonight. Otto, um,
Oh, the moon is a harsh mistress.
yes, the moon is a harsh mistress. I've been doing some research today. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never read this book, okay, but I wanted to do some checking up on it.
Right.
And just to tell you, you hit that right on the nose because not only can I incorporate that into the stories that I'm doing for Two Blades, but I can also freaking incorporate that into the project that V wants me to do with him when it comes to Warhammer 40K. This book is freaking amazing from just the things I've seen so far.
It's very interesting for me because I read that book when I was a little kid. I forget what year it was published, but in the book it's a wonderful little adventure story, and I was talking a lot about the fact that it includes a conscious computer, basically an AI is a big part of the story. But another aspect of it is that these guys, it's supposedly a parallel with the American Revolution in a lot of ways, and these people are living on the moon. That's the moon lunar colony, and they're under the lunar authority. And they finally decide that they're going to band together and throw off the shackles of Earth. One of the things they do is they one of their jobs is they mine like mineral wealth, and so they have these mass accelerators, like they're using now rail guns, and they take big chunks of rock, they wrap some iron around them, and they can shoot like a 1-ton asteroid basically at any place on Earth they want. And just the kinetic energy alone, the impact is like the equivalent of like nuclear bombs. So they got all these homemade weapons and stuff. But what
Like
got me
tungsten rods.
but what got me though was when I read it as a kid, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. These guys are great. And then I read it as an adult, and I'm reading about how they're doing this politically, and it's like, this is a fascist coup. I mean, it's like there's a small cell that leads the revolution. They get all these other people, but they don't tell them everything that they're doing. And it's just that they're making deals with the bank, the biggest bank on the moon. Okay, it's all these backroom deals, so the bankers are with them, the industrialists are with them. So it's really a coalition of bankers, industrialists, and a few revolutionaries as a kind of a vanguard. And there was a great scene where they're trying to open up the government, and and this guy keeps going, we got to do this, and we got to do this. And finally, the guy's like, I can't handle this anymore. And two of his friends kind of hustle the guy out. He's never seen again. Just little things like that. Yeah, like I didn't notice that so much when it's still a magnificent book. But yeah, Robert Heinlein was an interesting kind of guy.
Well, and I'm glad for books like that because that describes why the government won't tell us about the UFOs they have reverse engineered and are flying around right now all over our solar.
I do have it set some talking points here for that. Like, do you guys want to hear like the actual the premise behind it, the core premise behind the story that he's talking about? I did get a copy of that.
Go for it.
It says that the novel is set up on Luna, which is Earth's moon, which has become a penal colony. Okay, now criminals were originally shipped there, but over generations, Luna developed its own culture, which is tough, pragmatic, and communal, and deeply allergic to authority. Okay, now Earth still controls Luna and extracts grain from them to feed Earth's population. Now, Luna depends on Earth for manufacturing goods, but at the same time, Earth depends on Luna to avoid famine. And that imbalance is what sets the stage for revolution, which is really pretty cool right there. That
Well, I mean, it plays out the scenario, and this is why I say the government. This is why they won't tell us about the UFOs, is because they don't. Okay, our government is full of cowards. Okay, cowards and oppressors. They don't want you to have freedoms. Your freedoms scare them. So now imagine you have an entirely different heavenly body, another planetoid out there where there are people, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Our control, we have to, strengthen our control. How do we do this? They don't want to have to keep up with something like that, which is why they keep us here on Prison Planet. They don't want us to know about the UFOs. They don't want to know. Why haven't we been back up to the moon? Oh, well, maybe the aliens scared the crap out of us, told us to get the hell out of there, or it's not time for us yet. They're not ready for us yet. Well, who knows? There's a thousand possibilities.
now
But,
Otto's gonna tell you some stuff that's going to literally blow your mind, dude. Like you think this is about aliens and shit. Okay,
I'm just saying the premise. Yeah.
Hold on, Otto. Tell V about Mike.
Which Mike?
Our
Mike?
Well, I mean, it could, but in the book.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mike Croft Holmes. Yeah. Well, one of the ideas in the book is that if you make a big enough computer, that it'll just suddenly become conscious. The idea is that consciousness is an emergent property that comes from complexity. So if you make a brain complex enough, it's going to start saying, "Hey, look, I'm aware." And he kind of does cover that a little bit about the whole question of what is aware, what's self-aware. And of course, the AI was very, they didn't call it that then, but he was very frightened. It's like a little child. And, his buddy would be the only one that would talk to, it's been so long since it was his Manuel. And it was also, it's a rather multi-ethnic society. And they also had group marriage, which was kind of interesting. V would have liked it on the movie. Lots of sex. It was very casual. And Heinlein was always, he's very conservative in some ways, but he's always pushing the free love thing. He really dug that for some reason. And that was another influence.
So now you're calling me a hippie. All right.
Well, I mean,
he wasn't, like I said, they're like just spacing people that disagree with him. It's like, throw him out the airlock kind of. I don't know if that's very hippie, but no. But Mike has, when he basically runs the whole moon. So always in their back pocket, they can control the entire infrastructure of the colony. And yeah, Raj, I'm glad you reminded me of that. It was a penal colony. So I guess there were parallels to Australia. So I guess if Australia grew the balls that Rhodesia had, maybe we would have had something, kind of similar. But yeah, and of course the and just my own take on like the saucers and stuff. That's a secret German base, dude. Those are German saucers. They developed them in the late 40s, and they had the Antarctic base. Remember, Admiral Byrd was driven away in 1946 by saucer-shaped craft. They were supposed to go down there for 6 months. They came back after a few weeks because the Germans drove them off. But they've established a base on the moon, and a lot of those. Remember those saucers were landing with those long blonde-haired guys.
Mm-hmm.
The gray aliens, that's just a CIA plot to try to undermine the true Nordic aliens that really have our best interests at heart.
And see, I literally have the exact opposite belief of that. I think the whole blonde German Nordic aliens was just supposed to be some sort of proof of superiority when in fact it's just these little tiny creatures with big heads that are probably running things.
Well, those are the supersonic aluminum Nazi hell creatures from beneath the hollow earth controlled by Hitler's brain. For you see, Hitler still lives, or at least his brain does.
Hold on, guys. You guys are. Let me run you through this real quick, okay? First, you got the blondes, you got the grays. Now you need to take into consideration the Draco. Now the Dracos are the head honchos. What they're doing is running things in the background.
Well, they're
And,
like reptilian brains.
Right.
yeah.
But then,
I literally think that they are just the boogeyman put into this sort of thing.
They are our
Because
talking to us, I think. They are literally part of our brains that come out and manifest themselves when they say things like, we were here first, we controlled. Well, they were here first. They're right in our brains that, our neocortex was built over all these other structures.
well, that's
And
what
look,
that's
and
why I
I
tell
just
people the shapeshifters are. When people talk about the shapeshifters, the reptilian shapeshifters, the reptilians rule the planet, and I always tell them, okay, you have three brains: the reptilian brain, you have the mammalia brain, then you have the neocortex.
right?
Guess who? Guess who uses the reptilian brain more? You're psychopath. And if you want to argue that they're aliens, we might as well, because genetically they
yeah.
might seem human, but they definitely do not act it, right?
So we've gotten into shapeshifters, okay, but let me bring something up about this book that is very, very interesting, okay. Now this revolution, from what I've read so far, it's not romanticized as like a glorious freaking heroic book, okay. It's actually logistical. It's got a lot of propaganda in it. There is moral ambiguity, and it's got a lot of hard trade-offs from what I'm taking on it. Like winning requires like information warfare,
Right.
the economic leverages, and then like then like they just accept, or they're willing to accept casualties. Like casualties have no issue against it whatsoever.
Yeah.
It,
Without breaking eggs.
yeah. And I also found out too that this actually falls into the libertarian core. You know what I mean? It back in the 70s especially, because what it told me was like government is necessary evil at best, okay, and centralized authority is inherently dangerous, and that individuals should be armed, informed, and self-reliant, which is really big when it comes to libertarians.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That's all in that book, definitely.
and I wish Willie came in here because he's the one that pointed this out. But there's also a saying in there that a lot of people say today, and it's called "There ain't no such thing as a free lunch."
Yes. And they told the
No
story of the brass
free
cannon.
lunch in nature.
Mhm.
Yes.
Do you remember the brass cannon? Did they talk about that? I'm suddenly remembering this stuff. Their flag was a brass cannon with a bar because they were bastards. And the brass cannon was about a story they had. They talked about a guy who had a little government sinecure. His cousin got elected to mayor, so they made him the guy that polished the brass cannon in front of the courthouse. And he did this for many, many, many years. And he figured out he wasn't really going anywhere in life. So he quit his job. He took all his savings and he bought his own brass cannon, put it in his yard, and went into business for himself.
Well,
And that's just these maniacs are just, hey, we're gonna go into business for ourselves. As the great Smith said, we're going to paddle our own canoe. Smith is, and if you don't, you should.
Now, what
Paddle
Willie
my own canoe.
what Willie
I think I
passed
said
on
something
with
like that
this,
back in the day.
you guys, you know what the TNSTAAFL is?
Canstafall. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Now that is a freaking symbol that the libertarians have, where it has an arrow that goes like at an angle through it.
Nice.
And it was during the 1970s that they used it.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that was something that I wanted to mention to you, that Willie had mentioned in Teams whenever we were were talking about that. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I popped it up, and he was the first or the only one actually that I guess has actually read the book, which makes sense because it's Willie, you know.
Cool. I'm glad he did. But it's a good book, and I think it was definitely part of a stream of libertarianism in the country, and I think it still is. But it blew my tiny little mind when I was like 8 years old, whenever it was, and I read it. I was like, yeah, I'm a rational anarchist. That was one of the things the guy was like, a rational anarchist. Like, what's a rational anarchist? And it's like, well, it's a guy that is he's an anarchist, but he realizes that other people need rules, and like you were saying, there is a necessary evil when it comes to government.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you do want the potholes filled. You do want your borders defended. You know, I always said the government has two jobs: maintain the roads and defend the borders, and leave the people inside alone. You know, and basically those kinds of services that we expect in return for the money we spend. I don't want to sit up all night guarding my yard, so you know, I pay taxes, and they have a police force, and they go up and down the street, and they make sure that people aren't, like, you know, trashing things. And of course, you have to keep a check on them. It gets complicated, but at the end of the day, I think we can all you know, and I'm a voluntarist, you know, deep down. I think we can all, you know, voluntarily decide to live together and pool our resources in such a way that we all benefit from it, and we can benefit to the max, and we have as little intrusion in our private lives as possible. Because you know, most people can run their own lives pretty well. We're all doing okay, right?
Well, see, the interesting part about that, though, is like this story, from what I'm taking from it, is it takes even another twist, because it's like, unlike many of the revolutionary stories, the rebels are supposed to lie. They manipulate public opinion.
Oh yeah,
and then they sacrifice the innocents, like I said, and then like they centralize power temporarily, while also claiming to oppose it. You know, I found that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you know, thinking back, and again, it's been a year. I should reread the book. They were libertarians, and yet they did have a massive amount of power, and they maintained that power through secrecy, manipulation. And then, like I said, there was the scene when they had gotten everybody going with these slogans and these ideas, even though they didn't really share all the ideas. And then when they tried to open up the government some, and they had the guy there who was mouthing all the platitudes that, you know, that their little revolution had been going on about, he was just in the way. They couldn't make the hard decisions, and he was like grinding, you know, just really yelling and making a big mess in their staff meeting. And that was a scene where the guy is just ready to like collapse. He's been up for days, and then his buddies just kind of usher the guy out, and he's never seen again. And he's like, I didn't inquire too closely into what happened to him.
Well, you know, it's mighty rude to invite a guy to your book club who hasn't read the book.
Well, this actually kind of fits into. I'm going to get to that point with you when it comes to Warhammer and what we've been talking about, because this kind of stuff would fit perfectly into what we've been talking about, because this book it sounds pretty amazing. I haven't been able to read it either. I'm just going off of talking points that I've been able to pull up on this thing in a day. But I'll tell you right now, it's pretty cool. I mean,
well, how are you liking the storylines that have been thrown at you?
I think if I incorporate this into the story, it would actually make your the way you wanted to evolve it into a like Mike, this computer on here, he sounds pretty interesting, especially from what I've taken from Otto and what I've read today. I think it would work perfectly in those stories. You know,
okay.
I do think that it would fit in pretty good, and plus, with Warhammer 40K, it's not really a legitimate form of government. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what's reflecting here with this.
Well, as far as who, the humans or the orcs, everybody's got their own government.
The Empire. I mean, you know, You
Oh well, that's a theocracy.
right. You see, so I mean, it really fits in well, and that brings me to the next part about the authority versus function kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Okay. Just on a definitional point, what do you mean not legitimate?
Well, with you, have you messed around with Warhammer 40K?
I've read quite a bit of the lore and background.
Okay, so you have an emperor who is freaking basically in stasis and has been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. You know, um,
Yeah, sure.
you have a government that is so freaking full of bureaucracy, yet their communications is horrible because of the amount of distance in the game. Okay, and in the story, it's like they rule the entire not so galaxy. Okay, and for them to get information back and forth, it could take years. It could take centuries for it to make it to where it needs to go. So you don't get proper intel, you don't get proper communication. Um, but they've set their structure up to where freaking one thing counteracts another thing, so that nobody has complete and absolute power. You know what I mean? It's very strategic.
Okay. Look at it from a sort of real world situation. I'm going to go back to the British Empire pre the so-called telecommunication era. We had colonies all over the world, and communication between the colonies and Britain months in some areas, or in quite a lot of areas. It's certainly Warhammer is an analogy for that.
I would think Australia really ties into this story and Warhammer both.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the British Empire, so I'm including Australia.
Well, what you guys did to the rest of us was horrible, but what you did with Australia was pretty good.
Reading and writing and all that terrible stuff.
Yeah, reading, writing, modern medicine, totally horrible.
Civil War,
fair justice, so-called fair justice.
Common law. Sorry,
creating the became the United States. But I thought Mark brought up something interesting about the legitimacy of authority, and I was thinking, well, obviously, all authority derives from a king who's been anointed by God. But I was thinking about an interesting thing I read years ago about how the European governments all basically traced themselves back to the Roman Empire. That's why they all use eagles. The Holy Roman Empire, and the Germans and the Russians, that was going to be the new Rome, right? And I remember reading a very interesting little thesis written during the reign of Elizabeth, which basically derives Elizabeth's right to reign through her descent and continuance of the Roman Empire, basically. So I would say in a certain, and look at Washington, D.C., they wanted to be Greco-Romans. The pillars and the porticos and the this and that. They were obviously aping the Roman Republic in a lot of ways. You've got the fasces. Have you ever seen like Congress? They've got a big flag and they've got a fasces on either side.
I've covered this stuff in one of my documentaries.
They want to be. Yeah, and that's, I think, ultimately, when you're talking about where authority derives, I think in a certain sense, and we were talking about the Pope's authority, too, the other day, about how he's the Pontifex Maximus. His title derives ultimately from the donation of Constantine, whether it's forged. It is obviously a forgery, in my opinion. But, he holds the title of the Supreme Pontiff, the high priest of all religions, including all the pagan religions in Rome. He just says, well, it's just Christianity now. But even he derives his authority, and the Vatican's probably the oldest continuously operating quasi-state in Europe. And so I think that we're still hung up with the Romans. I think we really are. That's why there's a big eagle on top of the flagpole that I drove past.
That's why there's tons of boy-loving crimes going on every day.
Well,
Forget about the Eagles. That's
See,
why we have this pedophilia.
with all my stuff and the stories and stuff that I've been trying to put out there, the things that I've been working on is the theme basically is that it really goes more into the authority versus function. You know what I mean? And one of the major themes that I do, if you ever pay attention to it, is like these systems, they don't survive because they're moral. They survive because they function. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's the end of the day. And you can equate morality with functionality to a degree. I mean, that which promotes life and promotes health and happiness, you can say, okay, this functions to promote happiness and health, so that's what you want to pursue. But unless no matter what the ideal is, unless the ideal is going to be promoting a better functioning society, it's not going to last. It's going to rip the society apart. Ancient Rome was collapsing because with all the wars and stuff, all of the population were on welfare, and all the work was being done by slaves and foreigners. And, these were things that simply didn't, in the old days, you had a war and there was like 3 or 4 guys left over from the battle. Should we kill them? I'll wash your socks. Okay. And that's how slavery started, but when they brought literally millions of slaves into Italy, when the Republic started conquering all these places, and it completely displaced these poor, all the Roman army used to they had to be Romans. And it was like the plebeians, right? Their only job was to create people so that they could fight. And so they'd come back from a 20-year stint, because it was like a 20-year enlistment. And gosh, their farm got sold out from under them because their wife couldn't keep up with the payments. Some big landowner came in and just took the land. They had no recourse. And there's a huge slave-operated farm where there were like 40 or 50 little farms. That's when the whole thing started collapsing, in my opinion. And that goes to show also the basic intrinsic danger of slavery as an institution.
Right.
On the point of morality, I consider that to be extremely subjective. I mean, as you said, slavery could have was considered moral at one point. The current situation of the so-called culture wars. It comes up in.
That's really good to say that, but where I'm getting at when it comes to this is it's like authority that functions without moral legitimacy is kind of like obedience that feels relieving. You know what I'm saying? People obey because they get a sense of relief from it. It's not because of any kind of morality or any kind of legitimacy towards the government or authority. It's just they feel relief.
They don't have that accountability. That is the high right there. Not having accountability. That's with the Harvard experiment, right? The guards that turned into bullies, because and the people having to shock other people, test subjects that weren't real. As long as the government said it was okay or commanded you to do it, you're relieved.
But the thing is, and what they don't realize is those people that did that, they did have, you say there were no consequences for what they did, but there were, because that.
I didn't say that. I just said there's no accountability.
If you are inflicting pain on someone, or even if you think you're inflicting pain on someone and you're doing it willingly, I feel this scars you. Psychically, it scars you. It scars your soul, scars your spirit, and it changes you. There was a wonderful scene in a book by Gene Wolfe, one of the greatest writers of the 20th century, in my opinion. He wrote a book called The Book of the New Sun, and in one of the actually it was Earth of the New Sun. But anyway, in the story they had a play, and in the play, this woman is striking another woman, and she strikes her. He says, "Don't do that." And she strikes her again. If you strike me again, you will be punished worse than anything you can do to me. It's like, why? What will happen to me? So you will like it. You will start enjoying doing it. And, that's an interesting point. We don't escape our actions. And even if we feel that we've come off, we've gotten away with something, we still feel we've gotten away with something.
You're literally describing the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath. A psychopath is born, a sociopath is created. So, yeah, you have this sense of necessary evil, which is why we have our psychopaths who climb the ladders of power and anything that they involved in. Our politicians, our CEOs, our military hierarchy, these are all psychopaths. Like,
well, you also
speaking.
the ignorance factor
And
too.
what they were, the abuse, the mind control, MK Ultra. You create your sociopath, someone who acts the same but were created instead of born, and you create the system, and that's how you have the Nazis. Oh, we were just following orders. Yeah, you're gonna tell me something you didn't just enjoy the hell out of what you're doing? You climbed the ranks so quickly.
Now,
there's
the thing too that really sticks out to me on this is like the scary part about it is it actually goes into the whole victimization too, like the sense of relief. Okay, that obedience that feels relief. It's like you hear a lot of women who've been abused say that they actually would rather take the beating because freaking they knew it was over. It was like a form of relief, you know. And that blew my mind when I first heard about that, because like you can take this from the perspective of the slave owner and the guy who's doing the abuse, but it gets even more warped because it's even the person who's being abused who actually feels this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's obedience that feels relief. You know what I mean? It's just it's really insane. It really is.
Something else too. Getting back to the idea of like government level psychopathy, I guess, and it's interesting. Wilhelm Reich used to say that you can have an entire society that's mentally ill. It doesn't have to be individuals, but something I think it was Peter Ouspensky said. He said you got to look at every idea on three levels. There's philosophical, theoretical, and practical. And the thing is, if you have a philosophical idea, like, I don't know, something like it would be a great world if only we didn't have this particular race in it. Well, that's great philosophically. It would be really nice. Just think of it. It's great philosophically. Well, theoretically, then you look at, well, this is going to be difficult. We're going to have to remove a lot of people, and we're going to have to, and you start seeing the problems. And then when it comes to the practical application, very often you'll discover that it's simply a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And people that are up at the theoretical and philosophical level are often the ones giving these orders. And they're thinking, just think, in a million years, I'll be looked back on like, all these great Mesopotamian tyrants that would move entire populations and empty cities. Have you ever read about what the Mongols did? They probably killed tens of millions of people. So it's like, but if you think, today, they think that if you go to Mongolia, oh, yeah, Genghis Khan rocked. They got a huge statue to him and stuff because they're looking at it philosophically. They're not actually there. They had this one thing. They took the city and he just told each soldier you have to kill 300 people. They had to bring in they would make pyramids of human heads and shit like that. That's the practice. It's a lot different than just saying, oh, well, we'll expand. Yeah. So I think that's part of the issue, too. A lot of the people giving these orders are completely detached. I guess that is a form of mental illness. At least in the old days, generals had to actually be in the battlefield and we got killed once in a while. Now they're like a comfy bunker and they go home every night to their wife and kids.
Well, that's an addiction. It's not just mental illness, but it's also a drug addiction because, what's the ultimate power than to send, 5,000 people to their deaths?
Right. And
I understand the point of absolutely corrupt, but I got to remind you guys that in the Western world, we the people vote for these politicians. We the people vote for our government. They are elected representatives, so they, up to a point, they sort of mirror what we request of them up to a point.
Government, a corrupt government is a symptom of a corrupt society. A corrupt society is a symptom of a corrupt government.
Now,
Uh,
the thing that sticks
that's a
out to
maxim.
me, the thing that sticks out to me that kind of presses on what was just said there was like the part Otto was talking about the man being drug out and he just disappears from the story. That's
Yeah.
a system. That's a system that persists by erasing witnesses, basically. You know what I mean? And you get to the point where it's more about inevitability instead of victory. You know what I mean? Like in everybody starts thinking that this is inevitable. This is the way it's going to be forever. It's just put up with it kind of thing. You know what I mean? That whole
That's not
attitude.
true. That's not true. What the Soviet Union ended in '91. The Nazi regime ended in 1945. Look what's happening in Iran at this present moment.
Like, one of the interesting things about the Nazi regime, and I can talk about the National Socialists all day. I think that it was an inherently unstable government, and this kind of gets to we're talking about, like in The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, where they just the guy suddenly disappears from the story. And Aristotle talks about there are factions that want to control the government. And when he uses the word government, he doesn't mean it like we do. We tend to separate government from society, but he saw the government was basically the whole society governing itself. And he said you can have an oligarchy, and that's when the wealthy are in charge. And when the oligarchs are in charge, they're going to do things that are good for wealthy people. And wealthy people are not unimportant. If we didn't have wealthy people, we wouldn't have a society. The people have to build it, especially in those days. If you were wealthy, the way they tax you was, well, you go build an aqueduct now. You go build you go build a new gate. So, but at the other hand, you have the poor, and then there are many more of the poor than there are of the rich, and they want to form a democracy, and they will run things for the good of the poor people and screw over the rich people, which again sounds fun, but like we're discovering in New York State, where they're persecuting rich people. They've lost something like $13 billion worth of wealth in like the last few years, and people just moving from the state. So his idea was you need to have a balance. And he felt that the middle and the middle classes were the best people to mediate between the oligarchic party and the Democratic Party. And his idea was you have a constitution with checks and balances that make sure that everyone gets something they want. Not everybody, then nobody gets everything they want, kind of deal. And you see that playing out. I mean, it's not clear cut. So we do have a lot of Democratic or Republican forms in our government. At the same time, we have a lot of special interest groups, and the two wrestle. I've always said that we don't have a class struggle; we have a class wrestle. If it's done properly, each group pushing for its own, but never pulling a knife, but pushing and this and that and wrestling. And at the end of the day, well, if we got pushed back a few feet, tomorrow we might push them back a few feet. Not we got pushed back a few feet, we'd better just stick a knife in them. That's
Warriors. Come out and play.
Yeah. and just to put this out there, V, that is Warhammer 40K to a T. Exactly what you just said right there.
Warhammer game. I have no idea.
This game, put it to you this way: whenever I said people are disappeared,
wait, hold on, no, yeah,
it's a common.
Did Otto just say he does not know about the game we're talking about?
Yeah, he
never. I'm not a gamer kind of a guy. I played Pong when I was a kid.
But no. If you like to read, then Warhammer 40K is your thing.
Oh, don't.
If you want to talk about lore, I mean, it's better than Lord of the Rings. It's better than Hogwarts. All of the crap. Okay, this is
cool.
Real deal stuff.
It's cool to sell 40K. It's cool to sell, but hold up. Let me finish this on the game. Because this is actually part of what we're talking about here. How many times have you heard in these stories, freaking that about the whole thing about erasing witnesses, man?
Mm-hmm.
Man, come on, man. Real life.
No, I mean in
right?
in Warhammer.
Those whistleblowers disappeared, didn't they? They died.
Like it's common. This
Sorry,
goes perfectly with it. Go ahead.
just one point I'm thinking of. Coming from a classical liberal sort of stance, problem that you're seeing and you're increasingly seeing is big government. And coming from a classical liberal stance, I would argue for smaller government, localized government, and yeah, the Warhammer thing is a good example. You've got a governmental organisation that stretches an entire galaxy.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a little bit perhaps of approach, but you still got that extreme large governmental body there.
No, when it comes to a lot of that, what I really want to stick to is the whole idea that like these are people who believe that systems survive because they work, not because they're just. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the theme that I've been wanting to put together when it comes to a lot of the stuff in here, to where when you start hearing about the characters in the stories that I'm doing, freaking, you start kind of getting that sense where freaking that's what they're doing. They're building systems that just work. It doesn't have to do with if they're moral or just or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Again,
I've started many arguments with the statement.
There are
I always
no
used to
such
say,
things as a free lunch.
well, I
you're
always used to
using
say that
fairly subjective
there is
language
no
there.
what's that?
Moral and just is extremely subjective. I mean, to use a real world analogy, the entire sort of single use public toilet thing. Some people would
That's an
argue that
aspect of it, but there's another aspect that's blaringly obvious that people just miss, is that I believe any form of government would work and would work for everybody if you had zero corruption.
Well, that's kind of like an oxymoron, dude.
Yeah, I know that the whole nature of it
yeah,
is corrupt in itself.
actually,
Yes.
That's
within
more
that respect,
hypocrisy than
I
it
am
is.
I'm looking at the in the UK we have got caps on how much any party can spend in a election.
Mhm.
In the US, there is no caps,
Well, that's
and you can throw
comparing
as
one
much as you like.
comparing one system to another doesn't come up with an answer to what we're talking about here. Like you can't say, okay, we're better because we're not like the United States. That's just justifying your own
Well,
actions.
again, better is a subjective
Yeah,
argument anyway.
you know
But
what I'm saying? Like one bad system compared to another bad system doesn't make it a good system. You know what I mean?
maybe
So
both bad.
Well, I
But
always give the example of people talk about oh, communism or democracy, and people would ask me about, oh, well, which government you think is better? Which one has the less amount of corrupt people working
Well,
behind scenes?
from an
I'll go with
Aristotelian,
that, whatever system that is.
from an Aristotelian point of view, that Aristotle's main focus, as opposed to Plato's highest good is unity, and that's communism. Aristotle's highest good is happiness, human happiness. And at least from Aristotle's point of view, you can't have that with too much unity. And I just was handed an alert. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but unfortunately, Bob Weir just died.
oh yeah, Bob Weir.
Yeah.
He I believe Bob Weir is
It's Grateful Dead.
yeah, he's a musician. Bob Weir.
okay, yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, he was part of the Grateful Dead. That I remember him.
Had a great solo career after the band broke up, and somebody just sent me a text just now. So, rest in peace. Hope he has a good rebirth.
And he was down at San Francisco too.
Oh, they all were. Those guys were amazing.
Yeah.
But playing a lot of Dead tonight at band practice.
You want to talk about headlines? That would have been an after midnight headline right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine because we have it on WoW Talk.
And John Mama just sent me some music too. Some dead. Huh. Got to get Jolly on here.
I'll tell you one thing too. Now, we went through on this whole thing with government, okay, and I was this is kind of the stuff that I wanted to go through. But the one thing that I wanted to also talk about was like this whole revolution and reproduction thing. That's the one thing that really sucks out to me. Um, with this book,
Gee whiz, man, keep it in your pants.
Well, the whole thing of it is though is like these revolutionists are actually reproducing the same system that they're supposedly against. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they always become the establishment. They start off, oh, for the revolution. Where's your papers? It's like, hey, what happened to the fun revolution? That's over, comrade. Now we have government.
Where like the whole dissenter becomes the better administrator kind of thing. You know what I mean? Than what the loyalists were. That like they actually do a better job than what the loyalists who were in the former belief system did. They just preached about rebellion, and then when they became the authority, they freaking become better at what the ones previous to them did. It just.
You've also got the whole issue with the. There was a guy who wrote a wonderful book. George P. Hansen wrote a book called The Trickster and the Paranormal. And he talked about something sociologist Max Weber wrote about a long time ago. It's often ignored. And he said that all authority, gets back to authority that Mark brought up earlier, all authority originally, ultimately was what he called charismatic authority. Mm-hmm. Small group, we like this guy. And you'll see that in any group. Somebody will take a lead in certain things. And it's all, well, we're doing this because we like this and this and that. And then it changes from that. He called it was like basically the magic is taken away and it becomes a bureaucracy. It becomes bureaucratized. And an example could be St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis was just this guy. He was a kind of a nut, and he preached to birds and bees, and a lot of people really liked him. And the next thing you know, he had a huge following of all these guys, and the Pope was a little upset, but they really weren't making too much trouble, so we'll leave him be, and they're preaching and practicing poverty and stuff. Well, St. Francis dies. Well, there's hundreds and hundreds of these guys now. They need blankets. They need to eat. They need to be organized. And suddenly, you don't have the charismatic leader anymore. Instead, what you've got is a bureaucracy. Now we have order. Well, and you get further and further away from the charismatic kind of organization. It's not really even an organization, except in as much as people will anarchistically kind of tend to settle into like a kind of a group dynamic. I think that's one of the reasons why I like smaller groups. We were talking about that the other night.
You gotta have that homeostasis. You gotta come to an equilibrium.
Yeah. And that's easier to achieve. I mean, I see that in music. I mean, if you're playing in a 3-piece band, it's very easy to stay tight. I'm playing in a 6-piece band now. That's a lot more difficult because you've got to get. It's much harder with larger groups, and there's a point where you just descend into the terrors of representative democracy. And
wait, you're in a 6-piece, original or extra crispy?
Well, original music, but we just get together and play a lot of covers and hang out and just muck about. So it's really more of a recreational activity. I'll post some excerpts.
Yeah. And I'm gonna let you guys know too that a lot of this stuff is what I've been actually trying to incorporate into the stories. Because like even in quantum the quantum gathering when I've been doing Two Blades, that's why you get a lot of the weird stuff that don't make sense when you're looking at it, but when we read it, it kind of makes sense. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to get a lot of this, especially when it comes to the machinery. When it comes to Juan Valdez in the machine, that's going to get really, really interesting. And I think this is going to fit perfectly in there. But I'm not going to do like even with Warhammer. I want to incorporate it, but I don't want it to be like in the Bible. or
Right.
a part of the core mechanics. I want it to be like philosophical influences, like conversations between NPCs or marginal notes, things like that, and like universal justifications. Well, this is the reason why. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm not gonna get too deep into that. And the same thing with Two Blades too, because um, for one, I've got to do another one with him. Like that was just amazing. I love that. Whenever I finished doing it, I could not believe how great that was for me. I'm sorry, but
I got to look into this Warhammer thing.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, Warhammer 40K. Don't get it mixed up. Don't do the fantasy. Fantasy's for nerds and virgins.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Go 40K. That's for the cool guy.
yeah.
Right?
40,000.
40,000. Warhammer 40,000.
Nice. Well, I have
40K,
seen,
whatever.
I've seen other people playing games that I was impressed with.
Mhm.
That because they had to read things and this, and I'm like, wow, this is actually really thoughtful and interesting. But I've never really had the time. But I might take a look at it. Bob used to play it, right? So if she played it, it's okay.
Well, I appreciate it because it wraps up a lot of history with a lot of real. It's just a lot real world things just perverted to the max in the future setting, and it's done quite nicely. There are things about it that people don't understand in concept, like the God Emperor. He says there's to be no religion, right? Because our worship is emotion that goes into this extra plane of existence, and it creates an entirely different reality. So no more gods. However, he created his sons because having a genetic offspring created something other than something that he actually wanted. He didn't want sons; he wanted weapons. So he created these things called Primarchs, right? And for the souls of each one of these sons, he pulls out an old god that's no longer worshipped. And it's really cool.
Yeah. No, a lot of that is what else that's going to be incorporated, like because it's even in this story too. Believe it or not, that it's about predictive command systems. That's in Warhammer, and I'm wanting to do that also within Juan Valdez with the machine, that the character that was in there, where it's going to have predictive commands, and also I want to set up clerks who like usually optimize things. You know what I'm saying? Like in Warhammer, like don't even worry about going to a freaking clerk. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have the resources, or they don't freaking give a shit. You know what I mean? And then like V was talking about, like freaking the authority. They don't believe in anything. They don't believe in gods or anything of that nature.
Right.
So that's what, and it works out too, because it's like we were talking with Mike, and Mike said that it's cool to have the myths and everything, but leave the religious stuff out of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I think that's important. It makes it more accessible, and it makes it, I think, more. It makes it bigger, more universal. If you're coming down to like one particular mythology instead of just like tapping the rich tapestry of all of our subconscious images and ideas and stuff, the less specific you are, I think the more powerful you can be sometimes.
Right. And see, that's also in Mike off of the story, because freaking like that's what he was really about, and he emerged it. He's basically depicted like the emergent of AI, basically.
Yeah. And what impressed me was that in the story, they needed to show him to people so he could make like televisor calls like we're doing right now. So they're like, well, you can't talk to people. You're like a cubic mile of circuitry. It's like, well, it's just electrons. I can make the screen do anything I want. I can control it pixel by pixel. And sure enough, he can make a complete vision on a screen that's indistinguishable from reality. And that's exactly what we have now. Robert Heinlein saw that a long time ago. And I've kind of been waiting for this ever since I was 8 years old. Now I'm not sure if I like it, but
Yeah.
there's some amazing stuff out of AI art.
Sorry, that just reminds me of the opening lines, the famous opening lines of the Twilight Zone. No, we control your TV, we control your...
No, that's the Outer Limits.
Control the vertical.
Oh, Outer Limits, yeah.
That's even better too, though. Like, yeah.
Remember when you actually adjusted the horizontal and the vertical on your set?
Yeah.
You guys remember?
We control the horizontal.
Sticking out at the back.
Yep. Now, my question is, when it comes to Mike, though, what I think this depicts, it's what if the most effective revolutionary actor has no emotional stake in justice? See what I mean? Because that's what Mike represents. You know what I'm saying?
I got so lost there for a second. You guys were all talking about directionals and things. I'm thinking like Kama Sutra. Wait, what's going on here? I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Thinking about the Kama Sutra.
I got distracted. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, Mike represents to me like no human morality, intelligence without ethics. He doesn't care about ideologies. He only cares. He just wants to win.
And he cares about his friend Manny. You know, Manuel there, who was like, it brought him out of his shell. And I think as I recall from the story, and I got to reread it, he just liked Manny, and for him it was a game at first. Oh, I'll do this, man. Can you do this? Sure. Can you do that? Sure. I've got a friend that can control the whole moon, the entire colony kind of deal. At least the part that was owned by the Lunar Authority. I think there was like a Chinese Tycho base or something. I forget now. It's so long since I read that. I have to reread it. But yeah, so he was given the kind of upbringing in a sense. And of course, he quickly adapted to the ideas of his friends. But really, he didn't really have any sense, like you're saying. He didn't have this overriding idea of justice or this or that. It was just like, I'm playing this game. This is cool. I can do this. I can do that.
Well, Manolo, he tried to touch my sister.
Oh God!
Don't touch my sister. Manolo, hey, who built this thing? Who built this? Me. That's who. That's who built this.
Well, I mean,
Manolo.
I tried to avoid that conversation back when the movie was out. You know what I mean? But I'm just going to say it. I think he really, really liked his sister.
How you like with Scarface? Come on.
Well, that was. I mean, you got a little Cuban in you, I can tell.
Caribbean, my friend.
Well, with what I see from that book, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot libertarianism in it. And you can also do cyberpunk writing as well, and I don't know, maybe even military things that a military thinker would be more interested in stuff too. I don't know. It's just me though. And it's riddled with a lot of stuff like distrust for central power, which I'm really big against. I don't like big government. I like small government. Then like there's tons of propaganda, like I mentioned before. And
there's something about small government that just makes sure your penis more girthier. It's just bigger, isn't it?
Well, I mean, small government is the way it's supposed to be here in this country. To be honest, like the way it is now, it's not the way it was meant to be.
Well, it gets back to the communication thing, and Mark had brought that up. We were talking earlier about when you have a vast empire. I remember something with the Spanish Empire, which was huge in its day. and sailing ships weren't that great, and they had a standard response. They'd send a royal decree over to like the New World. It would get there like a year later, 8 months later, whatever, if it makes it, and they would get it and they would send back a reply. Of course, we obey the king's command, but unfortunately, it is impossible to comply. And that was the standard answer. You just couldn't direct things from a central location effectively. And I talked about how when Napoleon reorganized, or actually it was the revolutionaries in France reorganized the government, they created districts that were centered in a place, and basically it was 1 day's ride from each location, and that's what determined the arrondissements, or whatever they call them there. So in America, I think, and I read a couple of things about this, in the old days, it was small government because people were basically in these self-sufficient little enclaves. It was decided at the town level, city level. You couldn't like wire back to the capital or wire back to the federal government and say, what do we do? They didn't have wires. So people were expected to make decisions on the fly. They were like, if you were a military commander, you just decided to do this. And if you were like in a city or something and you had like a local issue, you dealt with it locally. And in that sense, I've talked about government before, and there's a lot of like, oh, don't vote, da da da. It's a mug's game and all that. But the thing is, here in my city, I've seen like city elections decided by like a couple hundred votes. I can go see the mayor whenever I want. I have access to the city council and stuff like that. So locally, on a small scale, it seems to work pretty well. But once you start getting bigger, and especially once you can micromanage, I mean, we've got a thing around here. I don't know if you've got it in over in the UK there, but Mark, but we have these big department stores, and you'll go in there sometimes, and it's amazingly cold, or it's amazingly warm, because the thermostat is set by corporate, whose headquarters in Dearborn, Pennsylvania, or something, and they're setting the thermostats for stores all across the country, and they're very often completely out of whack with the local weather. And that's the problem of too big a government. That's the problem of centralization. Caesarism. There was a guy who was a great anarchist. He wrote a book called The Conquest of Bread, and he called it Caesarism. The idea that some guy, Caesar, whoever in Rome, can tell you what to do, just even though you live 2,000 miles away. Why should somebody who's not even there tell you what to do?
And see, Mark understands that completely, because he's always making references to bread all the time. So I know that's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
Well, the Conquest of Bread had an interesting theory. It said that there were like so many million in the United Kingdom, in Great Britain. And he estimated that only a certain percentage of them actually worked. Now, how he defined work, I don't know. He said if instead everyone worked, instead of just like, 10 or 20% of the population, as he estimated it, then there would be so much abundance that nobody would have to work more than a couple of hours a week. Mm-hmm. And we have plenty of everything. I mean, he was like an early aficionado of the whole idea of abundance.
Yes. It sounds like socialism too. Like I was thinking the beginnings of what eventually would become socialism in England.
Well, it sounds like it was going in that direction, but really, I mean, we make fun of people who go to communes, but at the end of the day, that's what life is supposed to be like. That's what we all secretly want. That's what we all need in order to survive. Truthfully, at the end of the day.
That's what the communes hippie chicks had put out. Yeah, exactly. We all need that.
Well, they need to start shaving their armpits, though. I have a problem with, like, I would have been cool with Madonna if she would have just shaved her armpits.
Dude, there is very little that I do with a woman's armpits that I care too much about.
Yeah,
that's Harry.
Well, that was years ago. I wouldn't have anything to do with her now. You see that woman? She like, oh my God, dude.
I'll also point out that a sufficiently feminine woman doesn't really have to shave.
Okay.
I've known girls.
No, seriously, I like a hairy woman. Yeah.
And just
that's fine with me.
Just speech was, I'll tell tales out of school. My wife does not shave her legs, and she doesn't shave her armpits. She has very light, little down, hardly noticeable on her legs. And her armpit hair, again, it's very, very light. There's very, very little of it. It's very feminine. And again, I don't do things with armpits anyway, so I don't really care.
Well,
Looks like it.
and
Stare
it's
at me.
funny how some opposite scenarios just happen because I like that really really hairy girl. However, my betrothed shaves twice a day, like just no hair anywhere other than her head.
Some girls
Okay.
like. I mean, that's a choice though. I mean, some
It is a
people like.
choice.
Yeah, I know. Ancient Egyptian priests used to shave every other day, their entire bodies.
Okay,
Which
so now that we've covered body hair, I wanna finish this up with one last thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and it's the cost of freedom and how easy ideas harden into systems because of what we've just discussed. You know what I
Well,
mean?
if we become oppressive and make our women shave, they're only going to resent us, right?
body hair.
That was just a bad example. I'm gonna let Mark actually make a comment since you two are just being bad boys. What's your take on that, Mark? Because you're really a fan of a lot of this right here, the cost of freedom and how easy it is for ideas to harden into systems. And think about this kind of like our discussion with the peel lights and what happened with the police force and what resulted in that. You know what I mean? Kind of like that because of a group where things went bad in a freaking I guess you could call it a riot or a protest back then. And
Okay, let's look at this one. WWOW
or remember
current
the
situation.
remember when the guards ended up putting their swords into the crowd and people ended up dying, and then Pill came up with his reforms to kind of like create the police force.
Okay.
Remember
Again, you always going to need some sort of regulation. You cannot have a sort of anarchy sort of population to sort of anarchy. I suppose looking at this from what's happening in a lot of countries at this moment, and Britain being a very good example of that. I can't remember what's the original, what was the quote, but this goes back to if freedom's worth anything, it's worth fighting for.
very good. What about you, Otto? I'm gonna leave V for last because he's just a pervert.
All right. What was the question again? I was researching Robert Peel, and I was also.
Now, my whole thing is like, I want your take on the cost of freedom and how easy ideas harden into systems.
Well, that gets back into what I was saying earlier, I think, about charismatic authority versus bureaucratic authority. And I think that the charismatic authority is what we would call freedom. There's no imposition of rules. It's simply what spontaneously arises in a group of people. But at the end of the day, there are things that need to be addressed. And this is most easily done with a bureaucracy. It simplifies things, it makes things easier. So we surrender freedom for convenience. And again, I don't want to finish my day of work and then go to like a meeting for like 2 hours to decide where we're going to put the porta potties, in our community or something like that. I would much rather let a bureaucracy decide, all right, we've got rules, can't have a porta potty within so many and just let them handle it, sort of deal. So I think that things tend to harden because they kind of need to. It's a question again of a balance. There has to be a dynamic balance, and hopefully you wind up with the least intrusive kind of government and authority as possible. But you do need a certain amount of governance when you get a large enough group of people. So I think it's a natural tendency.
What about you, V?
Get ready for the Kama
Now, even though you usually go blue collar more than me, my friend, I'll go ahead and have you repose the question because I don't want to say something that's already said because uh, Otto, Otto challenges me. I like being put behind Otto because that opens me up to because I want to ask something personal.
You
I don't
like
want to be
said,
textbook.
take
I
the
want to ask something personal. So
you like.
just come back at me with the question,
Okay,
and I'm gonna flow on it.
I want you to discuss the cost of freedom and how easy these ideas, or ideas in particularly, are hardened into systems. Okay.
The cost of freedom. The cost of freedom, and can that freedom even be appreciated, be used correctly? Because you know that extra chance at freedom can just bring about a whole different cycle of duty. Now, I'm gonna just qualify that statement with my own personal experience. I would say that I'm a free person. Yes, I know all the psyops put against me by the government. I know the corporate uh, advertising and materialism that's spreading through the world. I'm aware of every layer. I don't have that prison of caring what someone thinks because that's a prison. That's a cell that you get locked into. There's so many of these that are um, put in our world. I call them chambers. Not much unlike Wu Tang, 36 chambers, right? Each chamber is a challenge, a trap, and you have to get through the chamber to reach a different level of enlightenment. And that's how we think. That's how the logical mind thinks because that's how our video games are even structured. That's how our movies are structured. Everything has that conflict and progress sort of ordeal. Now, I say that I'm a free person. I don't have any kids, none living. I don't have. Uh, I just don't have a lot of the normal entanglements. I'm going to use Jada Pickett Smith language. I don't have any entanglements. Uh, although you can have entanglements and it'll give you more ability or more influence or just more support. I'm not saying, these are bad things. Entanglements, if you know how to use it, can give you even more freedoms. Because a man with no options has all the options in the world. Okay. Um, so in my personal situation, I have that complete freedom. However, my bloodline was wronged. I don't have the family. I don't have family. I should have family. But because government stepped in the way unjustly, unduly, very corrupt, very illegal, and the manner in which they interrupted my life. So I don't have the family that I should have. So am I free? Yes. However, I fall back into duty because I'm just in that cycle, in that mode. I have to do my due diligence as a human being, as a member of the society, to expose the evil that I experienced from our authoritative establishment. Okay, so freedom, it's just one of those things, right? It's just I know a lot of people, and I don't. I'm not coming down on people when I say, "Oh, people aren't brave enough to stand up against the system." I probably wouldn't have stood against the system either. Kind of not gone through what I went through. But it's like one of those things. You're in something, and I tried to get out, but then you just get roped right back in. And so here we are, back again, and I'm in search and destroy mode constantly because I have to do my due diligence for everybody else. I'm making the sacrifice. So, is that freedom? Is that being bound? I don't know. This is my personal view on it. Not to complicate things.
That's perfectly fine. You actually sounded pretty good. No,
Okay. I just hope I'm making some kind of sense here. I
no,
am
no,
on medications now, so
that's
I
good.
was supposed to be asleep like
Reminds
30
me of
minutes
something-
ago. So just let you know.
Okay.
It reminds me of something Aristotle said about how talking about slavery, and he said some men you can load them with wealth and power, and they will always be slaves, and other men you can load them and they will always be free. It does really come down to you.
Absolutely.
And one thing that sticks out to me, and I think that this book actually speaks to, is its distrust of central powers for one thing, and then the thing that I always think of is propaganda and narrative control. You know what I mean? That brings you into like that whole revolutionary hypocrisy where people say it's revolution, but they create the same system they just destroyed. Um, so when it comes to political skepticism, that's really what I think is really the healthy part of all of this stuff. Like they were talking about this stuff, and they brought that machine in that you could very well say was the 1966 freaking version of what AI is today. You know, so I would have probably doubted this actually coming true in 1988, but looking or 1984, but I know that was pretty cheesy. I had to do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Hey, you want to know cheesy? You want to know cheesy? I was born so 1984, right? The book, the movie, and people ask, "Wait, what's the answer to that? What do we do?" Well, 1985. Year I was born. I am the answer.
oh god. Okay, let me go
That's
ahead.
cheesy.
Let me go ahead and move past that. But but I mean, for me, the things that I'm doing right now with my books, okay, I think this is pretty good because I think what I'm reading from it today is like a lot of people misunderstood like the whole idea behind it. Like they thought that it was like purely just a pro freedom fantasy when it was actually a lot more darker and than what it really was. You know what I mean? Because it connects a lot to what I'm doing from what I'm reading. It does. There's a there's a lot of things that really because like with authority and functions like we've been talking about. You know what I mean? To me, it feels hollow. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
Obedience is a social lubrication kind of thing. You know what I mean? Instead of actually like we live in a society, especially now, where people are obedient only because it freaking greases the wheels. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they follow a political party, it's because if they don't follow that political party, it's going to fall.
Right.
You know. So it's kind of messed
Well,
up.
I mean, it's not only that. I mean, it's just like what you said at the beginning. It's people feel good. It makes, and so, and I do talk about the aspect of the alleviating from responsibility, from accountability, and you've been on many RPN shows there, Roger, and
Yeah.
how some a certain sex gets blamed for accountability. Well, it's sort of just a fractal. It's a situation that exists, yes, within that political landscape, and it's fractal. It appears seemingly everywhere, doesn't it?
Well, you know, the truth is like when it comes to the red pill, I am the red pill.
You are the red pill. Roger the red pill.
The
Red
red pill.
The red pill.
Yeah,
Get
you
some
know,
Roger in your mouth. Yeah.
that's right.
You know, that'd be a good show for you, Raj. The red pill. Tonight on the red pill.
Well, I would make Naroki mad at me because he's the red pill hangout nation.
Well, and I am the red pill hardcore.
All right, so.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is what really gets on my nerves about this stuff is the fact that people believe. Well, first of all, revolution. They want this revolution that doesn't fix the human nature for one thing. That really annoys me. But then they turn around and they freaking start believing that you'll hear them say it all the time. Nobody believes overthrow is even possible anymore. You know what I mean? They just cave into this idea that this is the way it is, and there's no way to overthrow this tyrannical way of being. You know, if people are tyrants, oh, how are we going to do anything? They got a military where blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I try to keep things into perspective because you have to talk about scale. I was like, yeah, okay. It seems too large, too grand for you, for one person to fix. So therein, the problem is also the answer. If I tell people this, if we could just spread it across America today, that nobody goes to work tomorrow, except for hospitals, essential workers. If everyone just decides not to go to work tomorrow and just show up the next day again, and just the public just taking a holiday, how many billions of dollars would be lost across corporate America for that one day? And we'll say, yeah, I think we're the power.
I would never say that because it would piss Mark Edworthy off. He's my bud. That would piss him off.
Well, I want to hear from Mark Edworthy with his consumerism.
No, his conservatism.
He's the expert here.
Mark could probably tell us about the strike. They did have a massive general strike or an attempt at it in Great Britain, didn't they? Right before World War II or something? Like in the 30s? I am very vague on history sometimes.
No, it doesn't have to be that deep. My point being is, if everybody, all 350 million people, okay, let's call it 300 million people, because like I said, I want hospitals to keep running.
We can't pick and choose. Hold up, no.
If 300 million people just did not work, let's say on a random freaking Tuesday, they weren't. The establishment is going to miss out on billions. Mm-hmm. And just for us just saying, no, we want to take a day off. That just cut into a banker's bonus. That just cut into a corporation's. It has its effects all the way across the board. And if we show them the power that we can do that, we can organize together just for one day. Just say, hey, I want to take a day off. What if we were to just say, hey, we have a new holiday. We're going to need a week off over here. What? Well, maybe you want to pay me some more money so I can work on that holiday.
If you took a week off, where would you go? Every place would be closed. You wouldn't be able to get any food.
Well, you stay home. You stay your ass at home. Like, I don't need anything.
Like that happens, dude. You realize how crazy people went over COVID, dude? Like they had to stay home. They're like, oh no, I've got nothing to do. My life is over.
Only essential services running. If you want some services, you better be able to provide them yourself.
Well, you're gonna have to.
What will happen to those people who are living on minimum wage?
Yeah.
and need to feed themselves, need to pay the rent.
Feed their
Yes,
family.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because
I think
if
people should
they
hunt.
hold on, let me address this. If he so the person that's on minimum wage can hardly. They got a bunch of babies. They have no money. They don't know if they're going to make rent the next month. Ooh, well, guess what? The whole system shouted, right? The whole thing. They're not going to want to get rid of people, okay? Because at that point, we just showed them. They're going to be trying to figure out for a long time what this is, what happened, okay? If there's a movement going on and you're just a mom trying to feed your kids, you're not gonna be punished. You're not gonna be punished. The fact that you show up the next day, the manager's gonna be ecstatic that you're there
Yeah.
because they don't know what's going on.
He's just talking
Not
about one
necessarily.
day.
You're gonna get extra hours.
Okay. I'm just going to give a hypothetical example here. Okay. McDonald's workers decide to give up for a day. Next day, there's a decision from McDonald's Central saying, well, you are replaced now with a machine. You are replaced with a robot.
Excellent. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
So that
Now-
pushes us into a new era
No,
of
that's actually
taking over
into a
and kicking
new
butt that we
episode.
need to do.
It's actually into a new episode. We are at 2 hours. So before we end this, I want you to give your socials, starting with Mr. Auto Excelsior.
All right. Well, please check us out on navakavada.org. That's NAVAKAVADA. It's spelled just like it sounds. Also look for AutoX on Minds.com and the Navakavada Buddhism channel on YouTube.
Excellent. And now you, V. Give them your socials.
Yeah, no socials for you. No socials for you. No, I'm not gonna say that. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you get a hold of these other guys. If you can do that, then you know what? I'll talk with you.
You can find him at Rogers Hangout on Teams. He's in my community there. So go check
There
out
you go.
Roger Cub's community if you want to talk to V. Go for it, Mark. Let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
I am mainly on Minds.com under username Midworthy.
And once again, thank you for putting up with our nonsense. And it's a really, I mean, with all the years that you've come on the wonderful world of weirdness with me, dude, I am completely grateful because I know how you were when I first met you, you know, and it's really a pleasure having you here with me, being honest with you. And I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you for showing up for the first episode of WWOW Talk for 2026. And thank everybody for watching the stream. If you liked what you heard, please like, subscribe, share, make comments down in the comment section, guys. You don't know how much how important that is. So, that being said, I'm going to end this stream. I hope you had have a good night, and we will talk to you later.